Hello again, everyone. It took me a lot of time and a lot of effort to accumulate the capital to invest in the guns that you're about to see, and it's kind of a grand slam of guns, if you want to call it that. These are Hagen single shots, and I have most of the frame sizes, or all of the significant frame sizes here. I had quite a few more, but you know, you can't own them all, so I sold some. But the one that was missing was the Magnum. That was elsewhere for several months actually, and now it's come back to me. So I guess we can just look at the table and I'll just walk you through what's here. And I think it's a significant thing to see on one table guns of this quality. This is the Magnum Action. And it's again, like I said, it's sobering for me to look at each of these. I saw all of these in the white, and you know, selected the wood, and in the case of the Magnum especially, had a lot to do with how it was built. And in the case of the double rifle, which is the first rifle, I had everything to do with how it was built and designed, and how the parts interacted. I can't tell you how much effort went into this double rifle. It was sobering, and it was humbling to realize how complex it is to get a mechanism to work. We were unassisted by computers, and especially in my case, I was really just going by intuition and what I knew about guns. But the result, I think, is a kind of masterpiece, and I'm not aware of another one. That's serial number 1. In terms of the finest gun, well, small rifles tend to be interesting by definition, and this wonderful little single shot in .223 it stands out. I don't know what it weighs, almost nothing. And it has everything that you would want except maybe engraving. But with the color case hardening, I always wondered whether engraving is really necessary, because the color case hardening is so beautiful. But the walnut is perfect, the check ring is perfect. When you buy guns in this league, you really receive perfection. And Martin Hagen is probably some kind of Mozart of gun makers, and I've seen the hours he puts into these guns, and he's obviously not working for money. He sees something else in these guns, but like we probably all do, that people that like guns. It's got the quarter rib, the tally mounts, the bases are milled into the quarter rib, fixed rear sight, barrel band swivel, barrel band front sight, short barrel, .223 like I said, and ebony forend tip. Just perfection. I'll talk about the gun closest to me in a moment. The Magnum Action is probably some kind of magnum opus, I would call it. Just an absolutely magnificent firearm. You know, when you send an Action for color case hardening, it's never a certainty how it turns out, and you have to just take what you get. This is a combination, depending on who's doing the color case hardening. Arsenic can be involved, and leather, and carbon, and heat, and then it's all dropped into water. You can read how the process, and in this case, I think it's fair to say, and this gun has been virtually around the world, that the color case hardening somehow was like delivered from the heavens. It's just perfect. And 2 retaining screws for the forend. This is in 500 square, and I'm actually questioning whether I shouldn't have a barrel made. I think I will. There should be a quarter rib here, and to not use this rifle at least for a few years. I should get a barrel made in 30-06 or something like this. Anyway, it has, again, the barrel band swivel, barrel band front sight. And I've got different inserts. There's one with phosphorus for night hunting. So it's in Africa, not that I've ever taken this to Africa. The rear sight is done correctly. It's on an island, but there should be a quarter rib here. But to undo this work doesn't make any sense. And anyway, there was a reason for these tally bases at the time. And the rest of the action is typical Hagen. I mean, again, it's just about impossible to explain without your handling the firearm how perfect these Hagens are, and that's why the people pay the money they do. So I set them with the Magnum Action there, and you can see how small the Mini Action is. And then here's the original. Now when I say original, I've known Martin for a very long time. This action is, if you punch in Heeren Actions, H-E-E-R-E-N, you'll see that this action is similar to the Heeren, especially the radius here of the receiver ring and a few other features. And that's because Martin actually was hunting with a Heeren that failed, and then two German fellows, Hartmann and Weiss, who started their own gun companies, encouraged him to come up with his own, and so he did, and so he sort of copied the Heeren. All these Hagens have inline firing pins, and they are, I would have to say, firearms perfection. You won't find a better firearm, or a more collectible firearm for that matter. Anyway, this is one of the early actions, standard size. Now he makes them sometimes a little bigger, sometimes smaller. The recent run is smaller, and but they all fall into the medium action niche or niche. And then he made the Magnum, and actually I somehow ended up with 100 of these. Well, just short of 100 of these Magnum Actions. I made a video on the main channel, and some people bought them and made some pretty interesting guns on them. And the miniature action, of course, being so delicate as we talked. And then the double, this obviously is close to my heart because it is the Hagen falling block, and you can see similarities in, well, all over the place. If you could study them like I do, you can see it's a lot like Winchester designs. There are echoes of things between and amongst all kinds of firearms, but you have to kind of see them. You see some Savage in a Remington, and some Remington in a Winchester, and anyway, I'm probably not making sense, but I'm sure it's the same in music and in any discipline. There are things that occur in many places for different purposes, and sometimes for the same purpose. Anyhow, this is the falling block double, and it has quite a unique system. I have to be careful because this stock is actually not attached. It's just a one, in fact I won't do it, I'll just show you how it works. You push this one button, and then it's a claw mount that pivots up, but this through bolt is not in on this stock, and if I apply pressure it's likely to come off. And the reason that the through bolt isn't in here, see, I'll show you, the butt plate is not on the stock, and the fore end, I did attach that. But anyway, the reason I took it off is I'm going to work on the ejector that fits in here, and I have the parts, and it did work, but there were just a couple of things that occurred to me. I've been extremely busy, so kind of the things I'd like to do have to wait. I'm sure that you all have the same thing going on in your life. So there it is. That's kind of the grand slam of single shot rifles. Anyway, you could probably, oh, I put a Ruger on the table, and then I guess over here I've got a German Jaeger rifle, which I had on on a prior video. Anyway, this is the Ruger, which I have tremendous respect for, and when I was looking at the Ruger and then looking at the Hagens, I really did think what an amazing achievement this number one was and is. It's something else. This is the 7.62 by 39. You know, it's SKS cartridge, and I was talking to somebody down there, and they explained that they made that. They had some barrels left from another project, so anyhow, who knows if that's true, but just a beautiful rifle. And I mean, you could put Turkish walnut on this, and most people would have no idea that it's not a Hagen Action, of course, but with some proper walnut. Not that this is bad walnut, it's just very plain. It's straight grain and so on, very little figure, no cheek piece. But it's got a quarter rib, I mean, and this quarter rib isn't going anywhere. It's attached by an awful lot of fasteners, and but that's the way Bill Ruger wanted to do it. So I set that on the table just to kind of reflect on that. And anyway, the whole kind of exercise has been beneficial for me, I think, thinking about when I got the rifles and how I got the rifles and all the things that were involved, all the money that was involved. Especially with the double rifle and the Magnum, and that Magnum, like I said, it's been all over the place at shows in Europe and so forth, and a lot of people feel that you know, it's definitely up there in terms of an achievement. But I'll probably have that barrel made maybe in 30-06, and I was thinking maybe 30-06, or I don't know, so something not 500 square. I mean, I'll show you what the muzzle looks like. So I mean, that is a fire-breathing cannon. Actually, the recoil is not too bad, but that's because I don't load it to high velocity. If I did, well, you know, I don't know if the stock will fracture. Probably never. It's extremely hard and dense, this particular blank of Turkish walnut. I remember handling it when it was a more or less part of a treat, and it was extremely heavy then, and it's extremely heavy now. We could put a recoil reducing device, but drilling holes and all that, can't be bothered. So that is it. I hope that's meaningful to you. You know, I could go over the values of what you have in front of you, but that's not the point. These will be of lasting value no matter what happens. And I don't know, the way things are going in the gun industry, this kind of gun making, I don't think it'll disappear, but I think percentage-wise it will become less and less. And actually, I encourage everybody who likes firearms to buy at least one or two really fine pieces, because I find myself gravitating in those reflective moments or evenings to these guns, and I you know, to just look at something that's really quite extraordinary and rare, and isn't going to become common anytime soon. So there are my thoughts on the Hagens. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again shortly. Take care.